we're talking today about the lawsuit that was just filed by Logan Paul against Coffeezilla. This was literally just filed in the U.S. District Court. This is federal court for the Western District of Texas, San Antonio Division. Logan Paul plaintiff versus Steven Feindessen. I don't know actually how to pronounce Feindessen. I imagine it's German, which is sehr gut. Wir kann speak German. So it's Coffee Break Productions, LLC, a DBZ doing business as, DBZ. DBZ, I'm thinking anime. DBA Coffeezilla, right? So this is an actual file case. This is not something that is a draft or something else. This is an actual legitimate case that has come out here against Coffeezilla. And it is clearly for defamation, right? So we're going to talk about defamation as a cause of action. We're going to talk about anti-slap a little bit, and we're going to go through the complaint. It's 47 pages. So his biggest video is actually part of this lawsuit, and we're actually going to get into this with this biggest video being part of the lawsuit. He has 3.61 million subscribers. Right, 524 videos. He's a person who, Alex says, uncovers scams, fraudsters, and fake gurus that are preying on desperate people with deception. He often focuses on crypto, and if you look at his channel and you look at some of his biggest videos, they've been about crypto or about Logan Paul specifically. His number one, number two. What is about IShowSpeed here, and then you've got Logan Paul. Right, so Logan Paul here, Logan Paul here, Logan Paul here, right? If you scroll down, you see more Logan Paul, Logan Paul, Logan Paul, Sam Bankman-Fried. So you see a lot of crypto and a lot of Logan Paul. So some of his top videos are Logan Paul. So he has made a ton of money off of Logan Paul, and that's what's at contention here. What's at contention is the fact that he has made a ton of money off of Logan Paul, right? This is going to be a really big problem for Logan Paul, because Texas has one of the strongest anti-slap measures in the whole nation. So it is going to be really hard for them to beat that anti-slap and get past that protection on free speech and hit him with defamation. Moving here. So obviously the plaintiff is Logan Paul, and he's suing both Steven, aka Coffeezilla, and his company. So that's the proper way to sue somebody on the internet. If they've got a company, you're going to want to include their company as well. Logan Paul is a globally recognized entertainer, athlete, and entrepreneur, and brings a defamation action against defendant Steven Feinstein, aka Coffeezilla. Okay, so I actually did a little test. So I am in the Philippines right now. I'm in the Philippines. I ended up asking random Filipinos who they've heard of, right? I actually asked 10 Filipinos and Filipinas, women and men, have they heard of Coffeezilla and have they heard of Logan Paul? Right? One of them had heard of Coffeezilla and 9 of them had heard of Logan Paul. So most of them have heard of Logan Paul, and the only person that did is a person who watched a lot of YouTube, right? People who are really into YouTube, particularly a segment of YouTube, especially English language speaking. So you got to have like really good English comprehension, whatever. You found that, right? But Logan Paul is pretty well known, globally. That part is true. But your global influence allows you to exercise undue influence as well. Just understand that. So he bringing a defamation action against defendant Coffeezilla, a self-described investigative journalist and internet detective with no actual journalism training or a private investigator's license. Hold on one second. I want to highlight this real quick because this to me is really, really funny. The fact of the matter here is, chat, is that you don't need journalism training or a private investigator's license to do these things, right? Like, so let me be very clear. Just like you don't need to have a private investigator's license in order to look into stuff and uncover stuff and expose stuff. Now, there are certain things that you should have a license for, right? Like, I don't know, being a lawyer, right? Like you should be an actual lawyer, right? Or a doctor or something like that. Okay, so he's suing Coffeezilla to hold him accountable for maliciously and repeatedly publishing false statements accusing Paul of operating a scam in connection with a troubled blockchain project called Coffeezilla. Okay, so here's one thing I want to point out. Under the precedent of Times versus Sullivan, both Coffeezilla and Logan Paul are public figures. When you are a public figure, the standard to prove defamation is higher. It's maliciousness. It is very hard to prove maliciousness. Very difficult. So not only does Logan Paul have to get past the anti-slap statute and prove that this is not trying to silence Coffeezilla and keep him from exposing frauds, etc. He's got to also prove that it was malicious, that he was doing it to get Logan Paul, out of a malice towards Logan Paul. That's hard. This is almost a lulsuit at this point. It really does, because that standard is so high and is so difficult to hit. And it is obviously about Coffeezilla. Some of you may have known about this. I think I've done other episodes about this, but you can find information on Coffeezilla obviously on Coffeezilla's page, and obviously many places over the internet. It is pretty widely acknowledged that Coffeezilla, I mean, it's pretty fair to say that Coffeezilla as a crypto token was definitely a rug, was definitely a pump and dump, right? Starting when he released a 3-part YouTube series on Coffeezilla in December of 2022 and continuing to the present, Coffeezilla has perpetuated a false narrative that Paul scammed and defrauded his own fans in connection with the work. Coffeezilla has perpetuated this false narrative despite knowing it is being completely and utterly false. So this is where he's trying to prove malice. I don't think this gets there, because he's gonna see, the thing is, like, he's got to prove that Paul, that he knew that it wasn't a fraud, right? And it was malicious. That standard is going to be pretty hard. In order to enhance his own profile and increase his viewership and income. And indeed, he has done so despite being in possession of and personally omitting from his series and related statements overwhelmingly objective evidence that Paul had, in reality, been enthusiastic about the project and deeply committed to its success, only to be deceived by several of the project's trusted advisors who turned out to be con men. So he's got to prove that he's got to prove, like, the standard would be to prove that Paul was innocent in all this, but beyond that, like, Coffeezilla knew that Paul was innocent. Well, how would he know that? How would he have that knowledge? Like, I just don't see how Coffeezilla would know the intimate dealings in such a way that it could be malice. Paul conceived of Coffeezilla from an animal fusion concept he had seen go viral in other concepts, like Pokemon, guys. It's always Pokemon, just like Power Worlds, just like many other concepts involving eggs or breeding, etc. It's Pokemon, right? It's breeding Pokemon. So that's where that kind of the general concepts come from. A lot of people want to be Pokemon. They want to make they want to make those Pokebucks, right? Coffeezilla was a game utilizing blockchain technology, which is many things, right? There were several games that came out involving crypto, right? Where essentially the utilization, the use case for the token was for the game. And I will say that that is, like, on its face, the difference between Coffeezilla and Fatty Coin is that Fatty Coin had no use. This coin has at least a use in a game. So it's about the same use as like WoW Gold, right? It's like if you were investing in WoW Gold, I mean, it technically has a use, but that use is extremely limited. The use is limited to that ecosystem and your expectations for that ecosystem and what that ecosystem is going to do. So players would get these egg non-fungible tokens, so NFTs. So you already know it's kind of an issue when there's NFTs. But then would hatch into animal NFTs. Players would then be able to breed these animals to create unique, even rare hybrid animals, in which would earn players an in-game cryptocurrency called zoo tokens based on their rarity. All this activity would be carried out in a virtual ecosystem where animals could continue to be bred, traded, and used for mini arcade games and sold to earn more zoo tokens. So look, if this was like Pokemon, this would make a ton of money. But this is an untested online crypto concept pushed by people that, well, happen to be con men, right? So that's, kind of the problem here, at the core of all this. So to develop the project and navigate the intricacies of blockchain, Paul was unfamiliar. So Paul's admitting he didn't know what he was doing. That's actually not good for his case. That's not good for his case, because if he knew what he was doing and he went in and let's say he had more knowledge, that might actually be a good thing for his case versus saying, oh, I'm unfamiliar. Well, then you can say, well, you were scammed, right? And Coffeezilla, rightfully showed that you were scammed by people because you didn't know what you're doing. Because you, like many other influencers, are not an expert in the areas of the products you're shilling. Whether you're shilling some sort of nutritional drink or energy drink or whatever else, you're probably not an expert in that. You're probably just an expert in being an influencer or being famous at what you're famous for.